Hey, welcome once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm Aaron Bloxel with my co-host, Mr. Matthew Balzer. Today, breaking news out of Detroit on Henrik Zetterberg. We're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on numerous key injuries that are happening around the league, including Chicago's Corey Crawford, Vancouver's Antoine Roussel, Anaheim's Ryan Kessler. We'll get you up to date on all that's happening, along with some of the professional tryouts that are happening at training camp. So join us. Leave your comments below. Remember to like and share our page. And if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and let your friends know about us. So, Matthew, how's it going today?
Going pretty good. This itching NHL preseason starts tonight, so we'll start to get our hockey fix going.
Awesome. Why don't you bring us up to date with the Henrik Zetterberg announcement?
Yeah, so Henrik Zetterberg is officially retiring from hockey. I think his contract will stay with Detroit on the long-term injured reserve, but he's officially done playing. With the back issues he's had, he just can't come back to play. So he ends his career with 960 points in 1,082 games, and also 120 points in the playoffs in 137 playoff games. Amazing career. Won the Conn Smythe Trophy in 2007-08 season, and also won the Stanley Cup that same year. He's part of that lucrative triple gold club as one of the few players that's won the Stanley Cup, Olympic gold, and World Championship gold. I think this guy is super underrated because first you think about Pavel Datsyuk being that number one centerman there for many years, but Zetterberg was always right behind him, being that good two-way centerman. Just from thoughts around the league, especially in that Central Division, Jonathan Toews and guys from Nashville always were complimenting on how they labeled their game after him. But yeah, just an amazing career. Will he end up in the Hall of Fame? Will he not? We'll see. But he certainly does have the stats to get there.
That phone, by the way, rings once a year, and it happens to ring during the episode. So, heck of a career. I believe it's Hall of Fame worthy. Not even just based on numbers, but based on what he's done, what he was for that organization, what he was in the NHL. Not just an offensive player, but also great in his own zone. What do you think? Do you think he's a Hall of Fame potential candidate?
Yeah, I think so. Like he might not have like all like the big like Hart Trophy and Ted Lindsay awards or whatever, but he did win the Conn Smythe Trophy in his prime before he had all the back injuries. He was putting up around 80 points a year. But yeah, super consistent. Sucks that he was only 40 points away from 1,000 points. It would have been. I think he would have liked to have gotten there, and he most likely would have if he was healthy for this season. But
how many Stanley Cups? Do you have that stat?
Yeah, just the one Stanley Cup, but he did get there in the back-to-back years where they faced Pittsburgh in those 2 years, winning the first one, and then of course coming one game short in the Game 7 the next year. But yeah, he was part of that huge Detroit dynasty. But now with him gone, I think it's about like Nicholas Cronwell is like the only like really like big name guy left from that era.
I feel Detroit slowly started going downhill a little bit once Nick Lidstrom retired, because he was such a staple to that back end. It was interesting because I'm sort of rambling, getting off topic a little bit, but that Detroit defense through the 90s and early 2000s, they would bring in a lot of veteran players: Jamie McCowan, Bob Rouse, Chris Chelios, Paul Coffey, Vladislav Fedosov. And guys like Nick Lidstrom got to learn off of those guys, just like Zetterberg got to learn from the Brett Hull, the Luke Robitaille, Steve Yzerman, Brendan Shanahan, right? Igor Larionov, just because he was in the Detroit system, and they had Hall of Famer and experienced player coming in like crazy that they would bring in. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the New England Patriots in the NFL, where they bring in the veteran player from another team. But anyways, Zetterberg had absolute crazy talent. He got to learn from some of the best. Hopefully, he was able to pass on a lot of that knowledge to the youth in Detroit, and Detroit makes a resurgence. Lots of injuries happening around the NHL, or guys that are still injured from either late last season or from potentially even training. Why don't you update us on that list, including Chicago goaltender Corey Crawford?
Yeah, and just one little touch on Zetterberg. He did that all being the 210th pick in the 1999 draft. So it's one of those great the Detroit draft picks, along with Datsuk and those guys. But yes, getting into the injury report, Chicago has a whole slew of injuries coming out today. 3 of their top 6 defensemen are listed as injured right now. Connor Murphy's out 8 weeks with a back injury. Brent Seabrook will be out at least 1 week with an abdominal injury, and Gustav Forsling will miss the start of the regular season with a right wrist injury. And of course, the guy that everybody's been waiting for, Corey Crawford, still is dealing with concussion-like symptoms that he got at the end of last season. But he says he's really close. Apparently, before the main group got on the ice today, he was working with the goalie coach on the ice, doing some little things. So he's getting closer. But the thing is, with concussion symptoms, you just never know how close somebody is. It's like he could feel fully healthy and then come back for a few games, and then all of a sudden it comes back, and then you're right back where you started, sort of thing. But this is huge. That's a huge story for Chicago right there. But especially with Connor Murphy, he's usually been paired with Duncan Keith, I believe. But with that, if Seabrook's injury becomes further detrimental for Chicago's D line, then guys like Jan Ruda will have to step up on that back end. And a couple other injuries. Ottawa confirmed that Jean-Gabriel Pageau suffered a torn Achilles. So his recovery line is 4 to 6 months, which is a huge loss. Yeah, for Ottawa. But at least that opens up more time for like guys like Logan Brown and Colin White and Chris Tierney, who had just come over in their Carlson trade. And also Jamie McGinn with the Florida Panthers is out indefinitely after getting back surgery. So that isn't as big of a loss for Florida, but they'll have to fill a spot in the bottom 6.
And the Canucks had an injury as well. And why don't you give us an update on Ryan Kesler's situation?
Yeah, so Antoine Roussel apparently got a concussion 3 weeks ago in an informal scrimmage out in Montreal, a blindside hit. I know there's many guys that hate Roussel around the league, so I wouldn't blame somebody for trying to take a run out of him. But us Canuck fans, we were waiting with our slew of 4s that we had for those injuries to start. And, of course, right on cue, they've already started now with Roussel out. They're going to hold him out for the next couple of days. We'll see how close he is to getting back on the ice. But with that means he missed the huge 20-minute bag skate that Travis Green put everybody through. But yeah, and also with Ryan Kesler, he was out by himself doing individual drills and said he felt good. But he's not cleared yet to participate in the main group. But that's far and ahead of what we thought Kesler was going to be for the start of this season, thinking that he was going to be out maybe for at least the first half of the season. But it looks like he's closer than what most people thought.
Absolutely horrible news for Chicago. Funny news in Vancouver with the bag skate, because the talk of the day was Troy Stetcher puking on the ice and Jake Virtanen tripping in it. That's pretty disgusting. But there's also some news and notes on some more professional tryout contracts. And as much as I love food and eating food and whatnot, I know I even need to work out in order to stay somewhat good shape, but there's a certain Tampa Bay player that got let go or is getting let go because of his off-ice conditioning through the summer. Why don't you fill us in on that as well after?
Yeah, so Joel Ward got a tryout with the Montreal Canadiens, and the Calgary Flames brought in a slew of PTOs, especially many defensemen. Justin Falk, who played with Buffalo last year, Duncan Siemens, who was with Colorado, and Ryan Sproul, who was with the New York Rangers organization, and a slew of other defensemen and forwards in on PTOs because they open up their preseason over in China tonight against Boston. And I think that they've already brought in around like 3 or 4 guys on top of this before announcing all these tryouts. More just because when they come back over from China, they'll want to sit a bunch of the veteran players, and having all those guys there, that affords them to give them just a little extra rest, like we saw with Vancouver last year, going over to China. That they left. Well, they sent most of the veteran group over, but they left all the young guys and all the tryouts that they brought in last year back in Vancouver, and when they came over, he provided them some extra rest going into the season. Tampa Bay defenseman Jake Dotchin was put on unconditional waivers. The reasoning was for material breach of contract provided by Tampa Bay, meaning that the conditioning that he came in over the summer was not good, to put it kindly like that. So he'll be looking for a new job in the NHL. I thought he was still a good depth defenseman for them last year, but yeah, he's out, and that'll free up more playing time for guys like Slater Cuckoo and Cal Foote coming in this year in the system.
I don't know if Cal Foote will actually make the team there, but I think it will potentially open up a spot for him, and of course, additional ice time from Sergachev. Mm-hmm. Anything else before that we left off that list for today's updates?
Just a couple more Canucks stuff. Travis Green was impressed with everybody's conditioning, so there wasn't anybody that got the down pat. Like guys like Ben Hutton apparently went very well, and all that. Elias Pettersson had some notes that he's still adjusting to the smaller ice surface. I think he said the biggest change is just the offensive and D zones, how much smaller it is, and how much you have to protect the puck more from the opposing D. And one interesting line combination for Tuesday's preseason game that could happen is Jonathan Dahlen was practicing with Sam Gagner and Brock Besser on a line. So that could be an intriguing line, especially Dahlen and Besser together, how those guys could play together going into the preseason.
I did hear from Jonathan Dahlen that he loves the small ice surface compared to Europe, and how he feels it favors his game. So it'll be interesting to see. Still lots of questions, obviously, to be answered at not only the Canucks training camp, but at many others. I saw the Toronto Maple Leafs roster has more than enough players to fill 3+ teams. So there's a lot of players right now at training camps, and over the next week or two, there's going to start being some cuts. Through our show, we're going to let you know on some of the more prominent ones as they happen. But remember to like and share on our Facebook page, or subscribe on our YouTube page, and let us know what you think. Leave a comment, drop a comment down below. Let us know about your team and about what you think. And we want to thank you again for listening to this week's episode, or today's episode, because we do this 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. So we'll be back next Monday, guys. Again, this is B&B Hockey Talk, and I'm Aaron Bloxel with Matt Balzer. You guys have an excellent and fantastic weekend.